lose track of it. In the document, the draft document that Adam circulated, the multi-page one, and I don't have a copy, but Jerry, if I could look over here. Thank you. On page 9 and 10. Yeah, bottom of page 9 into page 10. We talk about the steps or the elements of the non-regulatory program that we want to focus on developing. It would be really helpful to get people's input on those. Doesn't have to be here tonight, but if you can look that over and give us input, particularly on which of those you see as most important or most effective for the county to play a role, because we may not be able to do all of those, but these are the things we want to try to develop. Yeah, Curly.
Yeah, I think the mindset that a lot of us are hung up on is just like you just stated. You're trying to find a way to allow me to do something on my property. Who in the hell said you have the right to allow me or not allow me to do anything on my property? You know, not you personally.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
come on.
right. And that gets into the philosophical discussion about the role of the state and the federal government and the local government over land use and other activities.
The local government, federal, anything. It's Benton County's agenda is what it is. The problem is that they want to have an environmental program that exceeds everybody's goals, and they want to push this thing. And that's one of the reasons why the thing's going to end in November. If you look at the Prairie Habitat Plan, guess what? The day before the election, it ended. The public comment. And you guys don't care. I mean, I'm not saying this, you guys do what you're told. This county has a plan, and water is one of the biggest issues of this plan, is they're gonna use that against you, and they're gonna take your rights away. Till pretty soon you're gonna turn around and you have no rights. So the thing to do is to stop right now before we get people in there that say we're not gonna do this.
That's
And that's a promise.
That's definitely one opinion.
Just
The,
yeah.
the other thing I wanted to point out
That's a strong opinion.
for Al C
You're ignoring.
is, well, I heard you,
No.
Yeah,
So
but I think we're getting a little off track.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We want you to listen to us.
hey,
I'm
we are
definitely
listening.
listening.
We have had so many public meetings, and we are hearing it, and that's why we are extending the time period so that we can do this additional work, look at non-regulatory approaches to meeting the requirements that the county is under, in addition to meeting the desires.
I have no problem with
This is
meeting
still
state
government
law.
of the people, you know, by the people, for the people, the whole
Exactly.
ball of
Yep.
wax. If the people here, and I've been to numerous meetings, and I've seen it numerous times, your greatest majority of the people said no, absolutely not. Then you take that back to the county, said they said no. And that's all there is to it. You don't have to, you know, we may have this, but they said no. Then that stops there. You tell, and if they want to push it further, then they're going to take on the people again. It's the same thing with anything else. When you regulate any massive group because of what a tiny minority wants, rule of law no longer applies. Rule of majority no longer applies. The individual's rights no longer apply. And I'll be damned if I fought for this country and 100% disabled vet to have anybody tell me what I am or am not going to do with my land. If that blue butterfly comes on my land, guess what? There's a dead blue butterfly.
Well,
Someone comes on my land and
so-
says, you can't drill here. Guess what? I just drilled there because I'm going to defy you to the end.
Nick, you said at the beginning you were from
Alcee.
Alcee. So we definitely heard loud and clear from when we went out to Alcee a very different story in general. You know, I led most of and was at most of the community meetings. We didn't have the strong points that Jerry has made and that you're making, and we recognized that there is a big difference, and we recognized in the inventory, and we're recognizing now, there's a big difference between Alcee Basin, that portion of the county.
How much Alcee Basin do you know? Do you know what Alcee Basin was? The entire place was a riverbed.
Right.
The
So
entire place.
okay, so I'm talking somewhat general. The community of Alcee, you know, down in the Lobster Valley, that portion that's within Benton County that drains to the coast. That strong public input and that majority of folks out there raised the valid points, and we didn't have the pressures that we have for the Willamette Basin with the water quality requirements. They haven't been adopted. We made it very clear that there wasn't going to be any program put forth for regulatory, any kind of analysis around regulatory requirements for the Alsea Basin that was going to be dropped several months ago, and that was circulated through the Alsea Valley Voice and other news outlets and through the mailing lists and that sort of thing. So I think there
But
should
if
be
you regulate here and you don't there, once it sets in here, guess what? Uh-oh, it's coming there.
well, and that's
And so
a
it doesn't make any
possibility.
difference.
If that's a possibility, if
I'm not
that,
against clean water, I'm not against clean air, I'm not against keeping the soil clean, I'm not against, to things that make sense.
yeah. But we got a couple questions or
I'd
comments.
like to say, you brought up the question of good data, and that's baseline, and the data you helped collect gave Mike a very different picture of the Marys River watershed, and he brought a poster
Right.
that describes it, and I think,
Adam asked me if I'd talk about that in a few minutes, whenever he says.
well, it's just getting nearer the end of the meeting. But-
No, I do want to allow you some time because I think that was a great project. I think we have one more
Right.
question
Yeah.
or a hand went up. And again, as Greg mentioned, if you have, additional comments, of course, bring them either to the next meeting or provide them, via email, or feel free to drop them by and get them to me.
I think at Monroe, you also had a lot of people who were, when you told them it wasn't going to be applied to farms or forest land, they said, well, you aren't talking to me. But I think there was a lot of people who were very worrisome when they came there.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I
So
think
Stella
very-
and
yeah.
I forgot your name. Jean.
And I just have to keep going back to what's already happened. You were talking about, well, how do you keep track of this? Well, the Marys River watershed people are on our property every year. They come back and they ask if they can go up Cedar Creek. They ask if they can, be on our property, and we allow them access all the time. And we've been there since 1973, and the kids have played in the water, and they've fished in the water, and they've got crawdads out of the water, all the things that kids do. And we haven't done anything to the streams, and we have been told that Cedar Creek and Woods Creek within the confines of our property are some of the best environmentally sound places that there are, and we've utilized them as a family. Walked up the creeks and caused the mud to rise and all these things. And at times, we have had to, because of our well having a problem, we've taken water out of the creek and have used it in household water. It's great. So I just, there are people who are checking up on this and doing this volunteer, and it has worked out wonderfully, and they seem to be extending what they're doing, and they do one fine job in a very courteous manner, and we appreciate you people very, very much for that. And I don't know why that just can't be enlarged upon.
That's a good point. Jeannie, you want to